Welcome to the 1871 podcast, and on this episode, we'll be bringing you our reaction to Reading's 1-1 draw at Bristol City, and then we've got part 2 of our Reading FC quiz for you. But before all of that, you might have seen an interesting story on social media over the weekend from our friends at Reading Royals Ice Hockey Club in Pennsylvania. So they announced that Reading legend A.D. Williams would be leaving his role as part of the BBC Radio Berkshire team that covers Reading, and he'd be spending time with them as part of their broadcast team, and we were announced as their source. Now, if you saw the announcement yesterday, you might have figured out pretty quickly that it was April the 1st yesterday, and we don't even know if A.D. Williams knows anything about ice hockey. So also to say that they did the post in the afternoon UK time, but it was still morning in the US, so that still counts as an April Fool. So as far as we know, A.D. Williams, he might be going to America at some point, but it's not to be a part of the broadcast team for the Reading Royals ice hockey team. So that's the first thing. Now, before we start the quiz, just want to have a catch up on the current state of play with Reading FC. And firstly, it is looking like Reading might finally get the 6-point deduction in the next few days. So that would put the Royals on 40 points after the draw at Bristol City yesterday. So 40 points would put Reading 1 point above the relegation zone with 6 games left. But before we talk about that game at Bristol City, let's have a look at how things stand with the championship table at the moment. So Reading currently on 46 points with 7 games left. And then below them, it's QPR, who've got 42 points after they lost 1-0 against the bottom club, Wigan. So they've also got 7 games left. And then below QPR, it's Rotherham. They drew 0-0 against Hull, and they've got 41 points with 8 games remaining. And then Cardiff lost 3-2 against Swansea yesterday, and they've got 39 points with 8 games remaining. So Reading will still be above Cardiff, even with a 6-point deduction. And then we move to the bottom 3. Huddersfield, they won 4-2 against Middlesbrough yesterday, so they have 39 points with 7 games remaining. So Reading would be a point above them with the 6-point deduction. But obviously, that result is a bit worrying for Reading if Huddersfield can score 4 goals against Middlesbrough. So who knows? It might end up being between Reading and Cardiff to see who stays up. And then at the bottom of the table, you've got Blackpool. They lost 3-1 at Preston, so they've got 35 points with 7 games remaining. And Reading's win against Blackpool has obviously turned out to be a huge result for the Royals, although the Royals' form is a bit worrying since then, of course. And then finally, the bottom team, Wigan, they beat QPR, so they're bottom of the table on 34 points with 7 games remaining. So, Johnny, 1-1 draw yesterday for Reading at Bristol City, and there was a lot of talk before the game about players missing and so on. So, I'd say that's a decent point for Reading, isn't it?
It is. There's still a lot of negativity amongst the fans, and that's the way it is. I think the Huddersfield result, I don't think anyone expected that to happen. But then again, Ince's comments after the game about Tom Ince not playing and he's our most. I'm like going, just give some positivity to the team. Like, geez, that was we could have won 2-1, we could have lost 2-1, but it's what it is. It's a point, and I think when we talked before, I think I said about us getting 4 points out of 3 games. If the cycles for the next few games, that would be perfect. So a draw there, we have to beat Birmingham. Preston away, they had a good result against Blackpool today, but you can't even, Huddersfield beating Middlesbrough, no one would pick that. But that's Warnock, that's what he does. He's a clever manager for all his, you don't like him. But he puts positivity into that team, and that's what we need. So start speaking about what we can do rather than what we're missing and what we haven't got. He actually made a couple of positive substitutions, which I thought was a surprise. The early changes with Jow coming in, we got a point. That's a start. It's not we're not going to win the league. We know that we're not going to do anything great, but build on that. Use it as a stepping stone for the next 7 games.
Yeah, and one positive we can say is that the last 2 games, both draws against Hull and away to Bristol City. So if you get a point away, Bristol City going, fairly well. So I think a decent point away, especially given the circumstances. And if, as we're hearing, it looks like Reading might get the 6-point deduction in the next few days, there'll be
next decade.
Well, let's see. Like I said, maybe no news is good news, but that's kind of, I think Paul Ince said that he was expecting it imminently, didn't he? So if they get the 6-point deduction, Reading not only are above the relegation zone, but they're also a point above Cardiff as well, and of course Huddersfield. So it's worth mentioning, I think, that in just over a month from now, Reading's final game of the season is away at Huddersfield. So there is a possibility that potentially, that could be a playoff to see which of those 2 clubs stay up. And of course,
we did better than we did last time we played them in a playoff.
yeah, and what an amazing game that was. Yeah. So of course, it's another encounter, as you say, for Reading against Neil Warnock. So that could be a very interesting game if relegation depends on it for both clubs. But I would say that after Huddersfield's 4-2 win against Middlesbrough yesterday, it might not be between Reading and Huddersfield to see
exactly.
up. Cardiff and Rotherham are still in the relegation fight. Looks like QPR might be dragged into the relegation scrap, especially after losing to Wigan, the bottom club, yesterday. And as you say, Reading's next game against Bristol City at home on Friday. Sorry?
Birmingham even. We can't play Bristol City twice.
No, Birmingham. I've got Birmingham City written down here. Did I? So if I said Bristol City, that's me. Begins with a B and ends in City. Yeah. So anyway, if we can play Bristol City instead and get another point, that might help. But as you correctly said, Johnny, it is Birmingham City at home on Friday, and that is one of the remaining games that, like you hinted at before, Johnny, Reading will be looking to take maximum points from, especially at home. So fingers crossed for that game. And we'll end on a positive note for this section. Reading go into that game unbeaten in 2 games. So fingers crossed. So anyway, let's move on. And now it's time for part 2 of our Reading FC quiz. So I'm just going to explain how it works. Similar to the first quiz we did, but I will explain it. We've got 25 questions for you this time. And as
25?
Huh?
25? My God, 25. Seriously, you're draining me.
But as with our last quiz, the maximum points available is 50 points again. And I can see, Johnny, you've got your little green notebook and pen ready. And this time, try and add up the scores as you're going along or something. And
you're then asking too much, Mark. It's so unfair.
That's a total at the end, but if not, don't worry.
Bring back David Coleman.
Yes, so we're not taking it too seriously. So 25 questions, maximum points, 50 points again, although that doesn't mean there's 2 points per question. There's different points for each question. So if you took part in the first quiz, you can add your first score to your score this time to get your total out of 100. And if you didn't take part in our first quiz and you do fancy giving it a go, that's still available on the 1871 podcast on all podcast platforms and also our new YouTube channel. So if you get yourselves a pen and some paper ready to write down your answer, and then please do contact us to let us know your score. And Johnny, you're welcome to go and get a glass of water if you want to. Sounds like you need it. Yeah, if you do want to get in contact with us, feel free to contact us at 1871 podcast on Twitter or Instagram, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and write your score in the comments below the episode on YouTube. And if you're watching us now on YouTube, feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already and write your score in the comment box below. So, Johnny, do you remember last time we had a bumper last question worth up to 16 points?
Oh, you're not going to do it again, are you?
Well, lo and behold, we've got another one of those this time. So that one's you've got to look forward to. And a similar type of question. But anyway, one thing about this quiz, 25 questions, 10 of those questions are about Reading FC this season.
God, that's depressing.
So hope you've been paying attention to what Reading have been doing, Johnny. So here we go. So
let's crack on.
Well, just to say, for part 2 of our quiz, I'm going to read out the questions like I did last time. So Johnny, don't give your answers until the end. Then we'll quickly repeat the questions for you, and then we'll go through the questions one by one. Johnny will give his answer to each question in turn, and I'll reveal the correct answer. And some of those will match, some of them won't. But it's 50 points. So what did you get last time? 38 or something, was it?
Yeah, I'm going for 20 this time. It's been a long weekend.
Yeah, okay. So and if anyone is listening or watching, you can pause the episode, that's fine, or you can just play along as we're doing it. So Johnny, are you ready?
I am as ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, let's go. Question number 1. This is for 1 point. Reading's first ever Premier League game was a 3-2 win against Middlesbrough. So for 1 point, who was the Middlesbrough manager that day?
Okay.
Question 1. Reading's first ever Premier League.
I'm going to quit while I'm ahead, Mark. Thanks very much. It's been a pleasure.
You think you might have got that one. All right. So Reading's first ever Premier League game was a 3-2 win against Middlesbrough. Who was the Middlesbrough manager that day for 1 point? That's question 1. So moving on to question 2. In our first quiz, we asked you who Reading's all-time top appearance maker was, and the answer was Martin Hicks. So this time, and again for 1 point, we want to know who is the second player on that list of most appearances for Reading.
God, you're evil.
So Martin Hicks, all-time appearance maker for Reading. Who's second on that list? And that's for 1 point. So, question 3. Do you remember in that last question, Johnny, I think you missed out Glenn Little, didn't you?
Thanks for that, Mark. Yeah, you're really cheering me up.
No, but you got, what was it, 15 points out of 16, so that was impressive.
Yeah.
But just for you, Johnny, we've got a question about Glenn Little this time. So this is question 3, again for 1 point. Which year did Glenn Little join Reading? So question 3 for 1 point. In which year did Glenn Little join Reading? And obviously, if you don't know, you can have a guess. So moving on to question 4, don't worry, you can pause it if you want to. We'll be repeating the questions. So if you think we're going a bit quick, we will be coming back and reading out the questions again. So question 4 is worth up to 2 points. So it's 1 point for each correct answer, maximum 2 points. So apart from Glenn Little, there are 2 other Glens who have played for Reading. And I'll give you a clue for this one. One of the other Glens played for Reading in the 1980s, and the other Glen signed for Reading in 2014. So you get 1 point for each correct answer. There are 2 other Glens, apart from Glenn Little, who have played for Reading. 1 point for each, so a maximum of 2 points. The first one played for Reading in the 80s, and the other Glen signed for Reading in 2014. So we're looking for the names of the 2 other Glens apart from Glenn Little. So if you say Glenn Little, that's an incorrect answer. It's the other 2. So that's question 4. Moving on to question 5. And this question is worth 1 point. Who was the last player to score 20 or more goals in a season for Reading? So we just need the name. So it's worth 1 point. Question 5. Who was the last player to score 20 or more goals in a season for Reading? So we just need the name. And again, if you're not sure, you can guess. So a few similar questions actually coming up about goal scorers for Reading. So the next question is, before that player, and I have to be careful here because I've got their names written down. So I'll have to be careful not to actually say the answer. But question 6, this is. So again, for 1 point, before the last player to score 20 or more goals in a season for Reading, which is question 5 for 1 point. Question 6 is who had been the previous last player to score 20 or more goals in a season for Reading. So that's question 6. And as I say, don't worry, we will be repeating the questions. Question 7, very similar question. Who is the last player to score 30 or more goals in a season for Reading? Question 7 for 1 point. Who was the last player to score 30 or more goals in a season for Reading? And we just need the player's name. You don't have to say how many goals or in which season, just the player's name, and that will get you 1 point. So that's question 7. The last player to score 30 or more goals in a season for Reading. Now, I think you might be able to by now see where this is going. Question 8. Who was the last player to score 40 or more goals
in
a season for Reading? We've got some other questions after this, different types of questions, but question 8 for 1 point. Who was the last player to score 40 or more goals in a season for Reading? Again, if you don't know, have a guess. But obviously scoring 40 or more goals in a season, he's a very well-known ex-Reading player. So question 8 for 1 point. The last player to score 40 or more goals in a season for Reading, who was that man? That's question 8. So moving on now to question 9. Different type of question, but also about a goal scorer. So question 9 for 1 point. Can you name Reading's top scorer in the 1991-92 season? And I'm going to give you a clue. This player also played for Southampton, Huddersfield, boo, Swindon, boo, and he also played for a team called Happy Valley. Strange but true. So question 9 for 1 point. Can you name Reading's top scorer in the 91-92 season? And the clue is that he also played for Southampton, Huddersfield and Swindon, and a team called Happy Valley. So that's question 9 for 1 point. Reading's top scorer in the 91-92 season. Question 10 for 1 point. Again, about a goal scorer. Who was top scorer for Reading 3 seasons in a row in 2011-2012, 2012-2013, and 2013-2014? So this is question 10, worth 1 point. Who was top scorer for Reading 3 seasons in a row in 2011-12, 2012-13, and 2013-14? And now, moving on to question 11. And this is a question especially for you, Johnny.
God.
And it's worth up
-5 points already.
It's worth up to 3 points. So you get 1 point for each correct answer, maximum 3 points. Which 3 teams were relegated from the Premier League last season? And I'll repeat the question. Which 3 teams were relegated from the Premier League last season? So you get 1 point for each correct answer. And in case you're wondering what that has got to do with Reading, all 3 teams are obviously playing against Reading this season in the Championship. And this was a question that Johnny actually answered last time that wasn't even a question.
So go check the notes.
This one's especially for you, Johnny. So we just need to know, for a maximum of 3 points, 1 point each, the 3 teams that got relegated from the Premier League into the Championship last season. So they're playing in the Championship now, and they got relegated from the Premier League last season. So that's question 11, worth up to 3 points. Okay, question 12 is a question about this season. Now, hopefully a lot of you will know the answer to this one. Who are the current bottom 3 teams in the Championship? And you must get the order correct to get a point. So, question 12, worth up to 3 points, 1 point for each correct answer. Who are the current bottom 3 teams in the Championship after yesterday? And in which order? So there's a maximum of 3 points for this. You get 1 point for each correct answer, but you can only have a point if the team is in the correct order. So if you name all 3 teams in the bottom 3, but none of them are in the right order, you get 0 points. So name the bottom 3 in the correct order, and that's worth up to 3 points, 1 point for each correct answer. So that's question 12. Question 13, another question about this season. And a lot of you, I'm sure, will get this one correct. Who is Reading's current top scorer in all competitions? Question 13, worth 1 point. Who is Reading's current top scorer this season in all competitions? If you're not sure, just have a guess. So that's question 13. Question 14. According to my research, Reading played in a friendly away to Brentford on September the 22nd last year. What was the score? So as I say, according to my research, if my research is correct, Reading played in a friendly away to Brentford on September the 22nd last year. What was the score? And if you don't know, you can have a guess. So you only get a point if you get the score correct. If you get the same result but the wrong score, you can't have a point.
Mark, if you had a bad weekend or something, you're really quite evil.
No, I thought that was an interesting question. As I say, this is according to my research. So
I'm answering these live. Other people can go,
yeah,
look at this. Like,
well, it's a good.
Even though we played Brentford then.
We're just proving that you're the Reading expert, Johnny.
Jesus,
I'm glad you're answering it, not me. That's why I offered to write the questions, because you'll beat me. So
I think they should have another round. Next round, I'll ask the questions. And you
yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. I'm sure you'll beat me. Your knowledge is.
Oh my God, it's not, mate.
You finished second. You finished second last time.
Yeah, but it's not difficult, really, is it? Like,
What are you saying about the other people that came below you?
No comment.
So that was question 14. Apparently, according to my research, Reading played in a friendly away to Brentford on September the 22nd last year. What was the score? And you have to get the exact score correct to get a point. But if you don't know, you can have a guess. And I could give a really big clue to this, but I won't. But I might tell you later what my big clue could have been, but it's just too much of a giveaway. I've just thought about a clue I could give, but I might as well just give you the answer if I do that. So question 14, Reading played in a friendly away to Brentford on September the 22nd last year. What was the score? And if you don't know, you can just guess. And to get the point, you have to get the correct score. So that's question 14 for 1 point. Question 15, again, about this season. Which Reading goalkeeper is currently on a season-long loan at Colchester United? For 1 point. Question 15. Which Reading goalkeeper is currently on a season-long loan at Colchester United? And Reading's and Johnny is giving me a very confused look about Reading's goalkeeper who's currently on a season-long loan at Colchester United. Again, according to my research, if my research is wrong, apologies. So that's 1 point. Question 15, which Reading goalkeeper currently on a season-long loan at Colchester United? You can have a guess if you want to. So that was question 15 for 1 point. Question 16 for 1 point. A lot of you will know this. Bit of an easier one than some of the other questions, Johnny. Who was Reading's manager before Veljko Paunovic? Question 16 for 1 point. Can you name Reading's manager before Veljko Paunovic? Question 17. Again, about this season. Who scored Reading's first championship goal this season? And again, if you don't know, have a guess. We just need the name. Question 17. This is 1 point. Who scored Reading's first championship goal this season? And you can have a guess if you want to, if you don't know. So, moving on to question 18. It's about Reading's manager. Which Italian club did Paul Ince play for? Question 18. For 1 point, which Italian club did Paul Ince play for? So we're coming towards the end now. Question 19, another question about Paul Ince. For a maximum of 5 points, so 1 point for each, name the 5 other clubs that Paul Ince has managed apart from Reading. So question 19, for a maximum of 5 points, so 1 point for each correct answer. Name the 5 other clubs that Paul Ince has managed apart from Reading. So I said there were 10 questions about this season. So these next 4 questions are all about this season and they're all worth a point each. Question 20. And this is about a very recent Reading game. So which Reading player came on as a first half substitute in the 1-1 draw against Hull? So question 20 for 1 point. Which Reading player came on as a first half substitute in the 1-1 draw against Hull? How are you getting on, Johnny?
Awful, mate. I've got no idea.
Question 21. You might get this one. Who was the last Reading player to be sent off this season? Question 21 for 1 point. Who was the last player to be sent off for Reading this season? And we just need the player's name. You don't get an extra point if you can name which game it was in. But if you can do that as well, great. But you won't get an extra point. So question 21 for 1 point. Who was the last player to be sent off for Reading this season? Question 22, nearly at the end now. Coming up to that big final question. Question 22 for 1 point. Who were Reading's opponents the last time the Royals kept a clean sheet this season, which was a while ago? So that's for 1 point. Question 22, who were Reading's opponents the last time the Royals kept a clean sheet this season? Question 23. So including this one, 3 questions left. Question 23, and it's worth 1 point. Reading lost their opening game of the season 1-0 away to Blackpool. Which player started that game as Reading's lone striker? Question 23 for 1 point. Reading lost their opening game of this season 1-0 away to Blackpool. Which player started that game as Reading's lone striker? And if you don't know, have a guess. So, penultimate question, question 24, and it's worth a maximum of 3 points. Apart from English, there are 13 other nationalities represented in the current Reading squad, with players who have played at least one first team game for Reading this season. So apart from England, Scotland and Ireland, can you name any of the other 3 countries, any 3 of the other countries that are represented by players who have played at least one game for Reading this season? So you can have a point for each correct answer. England, Scotland and Ireland doesn't count. And just to confirm, we only need 3 countries. So it's a maximum of 3 points, 1 point for each correct answer. So even if you correctly name more than 3 countries, you can still only have 3 points. And we're only looking for countries other than England, Scotland and Ireland. So if you say England, Scotland or Ireland, that's incorrect. So it's any of the other 13 other nationalities represented in the current Reading squad. And that's players who have played at least one first team game for Reading. And you get a point for each. So a maximum of 3 points. So we just are looking for 3 of the other countries apart from England, Scotland and Ireland. So final question. Are you looking forward to this one, Johnny?
My computer says no.
Question 25, final question.
I'm running out of ink.
And as hinted, this final question is worth up to 15 points. But I think a lot of you will get a lot of points for this question, a bit like the last one, really. But it is about this season. So, question 25, worth up to a maximum of 15 points. So it's 1 point for each correct answer. It's the final question. Reading have had 15 goal scorers this season in all competitions. So the question is, how many of the 15 can you name? And you get a point for each. Now, we can accept surnames only, and you can have a point even if you can't spell the surname correctly, as long as it is obvious that it's the correct player. And Johnny, you can have a point even if you can't pronounce a surname properly, again, as long as it's
read my writing, yeah, mate, that's the worst part.
as long as it's obvious that it is the correct player that you're talking about, even if the pronunciation isn't correct. And for anyone listening or watching, we can accept surnames only, and you can have a point even if you don't spell the surname correctly. That's fine, as long as it's obvious it's the correct player. So I'm looking forward to hearing your pronunciations, Johnny, at the end. So look,
Thanks.
we're going to run through the questions again, just to give you a reminder. And then I'm going to go through the questions one by one, check Johnny's answers, and then give you the actual answers so you can tally up your own scores. So I'm just going to whiz through the questions again now, just so you can check you've got them in the right order, etc. So question 1, for 1 point, Reading's first ever Premier League game was a 3-2-1 win against Middlesbrough. For 1 point, who was Middlesbrough manager that day? Question 2, the all-time top appearance maker for Reading is Martin Hicks, who is second on that list. That's question 2 for 1 point. Question 3, again for 1 point, which year did Glenn Little join Reading? Question 4, and this question is worth up to 2 points, 1 point for each correct answer. Apart from Glenn Little, there are 2 other Glens who have played for Reading, and the clue is one of the other Glens played for Reading in the 80s, and the other Glen, apart from Glenn Little, signed for Reading in 2014. So you get a point for each correct answer. Question 5, worth 1 point. Who was the last player to score 20 or more goals in a season for Reading? Question 6, before that player, who I've got written down here, I nearly said his name then, who had been the previous last player to score 20 or more goals in a season for Reading? I very nearly said his name for the last question. Question 6, before that player, who had been the previous last player to score 20 or more goals in a season for Reading? Question 7, who was the last player to score 30 or more goals in a season for Reading? That's worth 1 point. And question 8, who was the last player to score 40 or more goals in a season for Reading? Question 9, Reading's top scorer in the 91-92 season, who was that? And I'll give you a clue. He also played for Southampton, Huddersfield, Swindon, and a team called Happy Valley. So that's question 9. Who was Reading's top scorer in the 91-92 season? And he also played for Southampton, Huddersfield, and Swindon. Question 10 for 1 point. Who was top scorer for Reading 3 seasons in a row in 2011, 2012, 2011, 2012, 2012, 2013, and 2013, 2014. So for 1 point, who was top scorer for Reading 3 seasons in a row? 2011-12, 2012-13, and 2013-14. So question 11, which 3 teams were relegated from the Premier League last season? And you can have a point for each correct answer. Question 11, which 3 teams were relegated from the Premier League last season? 1 point for each correct answer. Question 12, who are the current bottom 3 teams in the Championship and in which order? And to get a point, so it's a maximum of 3 points. To get a point, you have to name the team and in the correct order. So if you name all 3 teams, but they're in the wrong order, you don't get any points. So which are the current bottom 3 teams in the Championship and in which order? So you have to get them in the correct order to get a point. So that's question 12 for up to 3 points. Question 13, another question about this season. Who is Reading's current top scorer in all competitions? Question 14, according to my research, Reading played in a friendly away to Brentford on September 22nd last year. What was the score? and you get 1 point if you get the score correct. You don't get a point if you get the result right, but not the score. You have to get the score correct to get a point. That's question 14. What was the score in the friendly away to Brentford on September the 22nd last year? For 1 point. Question 15. Which Reading goalkeeper is currently on a season-long loan at Colchester United? Question 16. Who was Reading's manager before Veljko Paunovic? Question 17. Who scored Reading's first championship goal this season? That's 1 point. Question 18, also for 1 point. Which Italian club did Paul Ince play for? Question 19, for a maximum of 5 points, name the 5 other clubs that Paul Ince has managed. 1 point for each correct answer. Question 20, which Reading player came on as a first half sub in the 1-1 draw against Hull? Question 21, who was the last player to be sent off for Reading this season? Question 22, who were Reading's opponents the last time the Royals kept a clean sheet this season? That's 1 point for that one. Question 23, also for 1 point. Reading lost their opening game of this season 1-0 at Blackpool. Which player started that game as Reading's lone striker? Question 24, apart from English, there are 13 other nationalities represented in the current Reading squad, with players who have played at least one first-team game this season. So apart from England, Scotland and Ireland, can you name any of the 3 other countries that are represented by players who have played at least one game for Reading this season? You can have 1 point for each correct answer, and it's a maximum of 3 points. So even if you get 4 answers correct, you still only get 3 points. 1 point for each correct answer, not including England, Scotland and Ireland. So the final question, question 25, is worth up to 15 points, 1 point for each correct answer. Reading have had 15 goal scorers this season in all competitions. How many of the 15 can you name? And you get a point for each. And we can accept surnames only, and you can have a point even if you can't spell the surname correctly, as long as it's obvious it is the correct player. And Johnny can have a point even if he can't pronounce a surname properly. So I'm looking forward to it. As long as it's obvious it is that same correct player. So, Johnny, how do you think he got on?
Well, according to Paul Ince, I was probably man of the match if I was an Ince. But yeah, it says no.
Okay, well, add them up as you go along.
Oh no, don't do this to me again.
Don't worry. I can do it afterwards, and then we can announce.
Well, 3's not that far to catch up to.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So now it's time to reveal the answers. I'm going to read out each question one by one. Then Johnny, if you can give me your answer, and then I'll reveal the actual answer. And Johnny, I'll tell you what. I'll try and keep a note of your score as we go along.
I'll do it as well. I'm only joking.
Yeah. So here we go. Right. Question 1. I think you got this one right from your reaction to this.
I hope so.
Question 1. Reading's first ever Premier League game was a 3-2 win against Middlesbrough. For 1 point, who's Middlesbrough manager that day?
The bloke that Steve Cobble never says should be a manager. Gareth Southgate.
That is correct.
Hey, that's it. I quit while I'm ahead.
Okay. Question 2. In our first quiz, we asked you who Reading's all-time top appearance maker was, and the answer was Martin Hicks. This time, and again for 1 point, who is second on that list of most appearances for Reading?
I haven't got a clue. I guess Steve Death, but it could be in Parky. I honestly don't know.
Well,
it's an obvious one.
Johnny, you guessed Steve Death, and that was a very good guess because that is correct.
Oh, is it? Oh, holy shit.
So you've got 2 out of 2 so far.
Right, that's it. I'm going home now. That's it. Let's call it off.
Now, just for you, I did a question about Glenn Little. Question 3, again for 1 point. Which year did Glenn Little join Reading?
2003.
So you said 2003, and you would be correct, and you've got 3 out of 3 so far.
Jeez, this is wrong.
Maximum points.
It's not going to last, mate.
So this question is worth up to 2 points, 1 point for each correct answer. Apart from Glenn Little, there are 2 other Glens who have played for Reading, one in the 80s and the other signed for Reading in 2014. So who were those Glens?
I only got Glenn Murray. I couldn't
Glenn Murray's correct.
think of the other one. I honestly couldn't.
So Glenn Murray's correct, so you get a point for that. The other one is Glenn Burville in the 80s.
Okay, I'll take that.
So you've got 4 out of 5 so far.
This is where it goes wrong now because I couldn't remember the top scorers.
Okay. So Johnny's got 4 out of 5 so far. Pretty good. This question is question 5, and it's worth 1 point. Who was the last player to score 20 or more goals in a season for Reading? If you didn't know, you could guess. So what did you say, Johnny?
Well, it could be one of these next 4 questions. It could be any one of the 4 I mentioned. So I said Jimmy Quinn. Could be wrong. Could be right. Could be the next one down. Could be one below that.
So are you saying the last player to score 20 or more goals in a season, Jimmy Quinn?
Yeah, it's wrong, but I'll take one for the team.
That is incorrect. The correct answer, the player who last scored 20 or more goals in a season for Reading was Lucas Yao, 22 goals in the 2020-21 season.
Jesus. Oh, well.
So after 5 questions, you got 4 points, Johnny.
Ah, well.
So I almost dropped myself in it with this next one because I wrote down question 6 before Lucas Yao, who had been the last player to score 20 or more goals. So if I'd have read out the question as I've got it written down, I would have given away the answer to the previous question, but I stopped myself. So number 6, question 6, before Lucas Yao, who had been the last player to score 20 or more goals in a season for Reading?
No idea. I say, I don't know goal scorers.
Take a guess.
Well, I said I've gone probably too far back. I was thinking too obvious. So I was thinking Jimmy Quinn. I went Trevor Senior. It could have been Trevor Senior. It could be Jimmy Quinn, but it's not right. So,
well, you are correct in respect that it's not right.
yeah, exactly.
Question 6. Before Lucas Yao, the last player to score 20 more goals in a season for Reading was Shane Long, 25 goals,
There you go.
2010-11 season.
Yeah.
So question 7, the last player to score 30 or more goals in a season for Reading. What did you put for that?
I again, it's I could have just said Trevor Senior for all of them. Hope for the best, to be honest, because I don't know. I said Kerry Dixon because
it's not Kerry Dixon.
No.
Who was so your second guess was Trevor Senior?
Trevor Senior. It would have been Trevor Senior. I know it was Trevor Senior.
That would have also been incorrect. The correct answer is much more recent than that. Jamie Curitan, who's scored 30 goals in 2000, 2001.
See, this is where I go wrong. I'm a goalkeeper, not a goal scorer.
But you've got 4 out of 7 so far. 7 questions, 4 points. Not too bad. So, question 8. Who is the last player to score 40 or more goals in a season for Reading?
This is a random one. I'm going Ronnie Blackman.
That is incorrect. What have you got written down, Johnny, out of interest?
Ronnie Blackman.
Well, you've already said this for a previous question, but you didn't say it for this question, so unfortunately I can't give you a point.
Senior, of course.
It was Jimmy Quinn.
There you go.
40.
Yeah, I don't. Goal scorers, they get the glory.
94.
Hard work.
So the answer to question 8, the last player to score 40 or more goals in a season for Reading was Jimmy Quinn, who got 40 goals for Reading in 93-94. So next question. Reading's top scorer, so this is question 9. Can you name Reading's top scorer in the 91-92 season? And he also played for Southampton, Huddersfield, Swindon, and a team called Happy Valley. Any idea, Johnny?
Craig Maskell.
Whoa, that's a good answer. Craig Maskell is indeed the correct answer.
I don't know bugger all, but I know some good ones.
You probably remembered him a little bit because he used to play for Swindon.
He's a good player. Very good player.
Yeah.
Played on Ben Hoddle, didn't he?
Yeah, he played for Swindon in the Premier League, I believe. Yeah.
And Nicky Hammond's pants in goal.
What?
Nicky Hammond's those tracky pants he played in goal for Swindon in Premier League.
Right, okay. But anyway, we don't want to talk too much about Swindon, do we? So you were indeed correct. I think that's a good answer. So that's question 9. Craig Maskell for 1 point. Reading's top scorer in 91-92. So question 10 for 1 point. Top scorer for Reading 3 seasons in a row between 2011 and 2014. Who was that?
There's only one man. Alfie. Adam Lafondra.
Probably didn't say Ronnie Blackman for that one. Correct. So that's a point for that one. Question 10. Adam Lafondra. So question 11. Which were the 3 Premier League teams to get relegated last season? 1 point for each.
Norwich, Sheffield United, Burnley.
So you got 2 correct. You got Norwich and Burnley correct. The other one was Watford.
Ah, well.
But not a bad shout. I think Sheffield United went down the previous season.
Yeah, they're all just money-making payment the old parachute payments.
So that's question 11. Question 12. Question about this season. Who are the current bottom 3 teams in the Championship in order?
Wigan are bottom, Blackpool second bottom, Huddersfield third bottom.
Correct. 3 points. So in order, it's Huddersfield, Blackpool, Wigan. Wigan being the bottom team. As Johnny said there, Blackpool second from bottom, Huddersfield top of that little relegation league at the moment. So the correct order is Huddersfield, Blackpool and Wigan. If you've got any of those 3 in the correct order, you get a point for each. If you got 2 of them in the correct order, and you said the other one, but it wasn't in the correct order, you get 2 points and so on. Hope that makes sense. So anyway, 3 points maximum, 1 point for each, as long as you got it in the correct order. So, question 13, another question about this season. Reading's current top scorer in all competitions. Who is that man?
Son of God, the only one that exists that plays for Reading, Tom Ince.
Correct. Reading played in a friendly away to Brentford on September 22 last year, according to my research. What was the score? And if you didn't know, you could have a guess on this.
2-0 to Brentford.
1-1. My clue was going to be something to do with Reading's recent form, but then I might as well have just told you the answer.
Well, you could have done that. It would have helped us.
Yeah, well, that would have helped you get a point, that's for sure. So, Reading goalkeeper currently on loan at Colchester United.
This one is I know 2 goalkeepers you've had out on loan, but I don't know who the hell's at Colchester.
Well, who have you got written down? Who have you
guessed?
The
only goalie I know is out on loan is Luke Southwood at Cheltenham.
Who? Sorry?
Luke Southwood's out at Cheltenham. That's the only one I know of.
Well, the keeper...
And Jokol Anderson's out at Stevenage. That's the only 2 I could think of.
Well, the keeper in question is not out on loan at Cheltenham, but you did get his name right. It is Luke Southwood, so you can have a point for that. And it's Colchester United.
No, it's Cheltenham.
Is it?
Yeah, honestly, mate, I'm not messing about.
Okay. Well, some of this is Wikipedia, which hence, according to my research,
editors.
Wikipedia is not always correct. But anyway, you got the name correct. So
yeah,
Luke Southwood, which Reading goalkeeper is currently on a season-long loan at Cheltenham. So kind of, if it is Cheltenham and not Colchester, then apologies. Might have been a bit of a confusing question. So if you did get that right, then I'll tell you what, if you said Cheltenham, you can have a bonus point. Have a bonus point, Johnny.
But if you can find a Reading goal at Colchester, you get 10 points.
Yeah. Well, if it isn't Cheltenham, I'm going to have to deduct a point, but I'll take your word for it.
It is, honestly, mate. Trust me.
Yeah.
Goalies Union.
Yeah. So question 16, Reading's manager before, Veljko Paunovic for 1 point.
Great super smashing, Mark Bowen.
Correct. So that's question 16. Question 17, who scored Reading's first championship goal this season?
I'm going for God. Shane Long?
No. Junior Hoylett.
Huh? Oh, was it? Oh, geez.
Junior Hoylett. Again, according to my research.
Which was that against? Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Which sometimes is Wikipedia. Junior Hoylett in the 2-1 home win against Cardiff.
Ah, yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Question 18. Which Italian club did Paul Ince play for?
Inter Milan.
Correct. So you're on a roll now. It's like you've discovered a bit of form, Johnny.
Bipolar football, mate. It's the way we do things.
You what, sorry?
Bipolar football. It's the way it goes.
Yeah, it's going in cycles, isn't it? You had a good start to the season.
And there are real answers.
Tough little run. Yeah, we can see your pad. You're waving it about, so we can't see anything that it says on there. But
no, my writing's that bad. I do apologise.
Yeah. So we can confirm. Well, obviously you can see it. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that Johnny's got some writing written on a pad. I can confirm for people who are listening that Johnny's got some writing on a pad. I can also confirm I can't read any of it.
Yeah, so that's about as legitimate as we get on this podcast.
Trust you. That's kind of similar to how the EFL's working at the moment.
It's really, isn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, next question is question 19. Maximum of 5 points, 1 point for each correct answer. Name the other 5 clubs that Paul Ince has managed. What did you get, Johnny?
Blackpool, Notts County, Mansfield, Milton Keynes, Blackburn.
Can you read them again? And there's a reason I'm asking you.
Blackpool, Notts County, Mansfield, Milton Keynes, Blackburn.
I'm going to give you 4 points for that.
You're evil.
You've got the other one. You got the first letter and the last 6 letters.
Milton Keynes Dons, if you want to be posh.
Yeah, Milton Keynes Dons. No, you can have a point for that. So your other answer, Mansfield, you got the first 2 and the last 6 letters correct, but it was Macclesfield.
Macclesfield. Oh, okay.
Again, Johnny, according to my research,
no, that's fine.
May or may not be correct. So if we find out it's actually Mansfield,
no, mate, I'll take it.
Have a point, but according to
I've got more points than I thought I'd get, so I'm just going
to So you got 4 out of 5 for that one. Pretty good. So the next 4 questions are all about this season. Question 20: which Reading player came on as a first half sub in the 1-1 draw against Hull?
I actually don't know. Yeah.
Do you want to take a guess?
1-1 draw against Hull. Shane Long.
No. Begins with S though. Scott Dan. Okay, next question. So that was question 20. This is question 21 for 1 point. Who was the last player to be sent off for Reading this season?
Mamadou Loon.
That is correct. And it was in the game against Blackburn. So next question is question 22. Who were Reading's opponents the last time the Royals kept a clean sheet this season?
This is the one I was going for, but I could be wrong. It's Watford in the Cup in my head, but I could be wrong.
Well, in your head, that would be correct.
Oh,
so you got a point for that.
Oh, there you go. Just in case, again, my bad writing, Watford Cup.
Yeah, I can confirm. Johnny is flashing a pad at me with some writing on it. For anyone who's listening, I think, yeah, you can. I did see it on there. So next question: who was Reading's lone striker who started the game when Reading lost their opening game of the season 1-0 at Blackpool?
I went Yaki, but I again could be wrong. Yaki Mate.
And you would be correct.
You're
going with your instinct here. There may be guesses, but they're obviously, if you get a correct guess, then it's kind of logged somewhere in your brain, I think.
No, not much else is, but that is.
But 24, question 24, apart from English, there are 13 other nationalities represented in the current Reading squad with players who have played at least one first team game this season. So apart from England, Scotland and Ireland, can you name 3 other countries that are represented by players who have played at least one game for Reading this season? And you can have a point for each correct answer. So Johnny, off you go.
Junior Hoylett with Canada, Yaki with Ivory Coast, and Kasey, whatever his name, the young Italian lad from Chelsea. Kasey.
So you've got a maximum of 3 points there. Can you think of anyone else, or is that difficult enough?
Geez, you got loads. Gerald played for Angola, was it in the week?
Yeah, Yeah,
Um,
I think some people, when he first joined, for some reason, I think some people thought he played for Portugal.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
It's Angola. Yeah. So
and Bengi, he's Angola. Is he Angola?
So I'll go through the list.
Yeah.
So the players on the list that I've got in front of me, if you said any of these countries, you can get a point, maximum of 3 points. So you could have had Angola, which is Lucas Yao. You could have Ivory Coast, which is Yaku Mite. You can have Ghana, which is Baba Rahman, Andy Yiadom, and Kelvin Abifa. You can have Italy, Cesare Casadi. Not sure if that's the exactly correct pronunciation. If you said Australia, you can have a point. That's Dean Bazanis, goalkeeper. You can have a point if you said Senegal, Mamadou Loum and Amadou Mbenge. You can have a point, again, up to a maximum of 3 points. This is if you said Canada for Junior Hoylett. If you said France, you can have a point, Naby Sarr. If you said Jamaica, you can have a point, Liam Moore and Jamari Clark. I think Jamari Clark's played 1 game in the League Cup.
Yeah.
Guinea-Bissau have a point if you said that. Mamadi Kamara. And apologies if I pronounce this player's name incorrectly. If you said Malta, you would also be correct. And that is Basil, and his second name is pronounced Tuma. So I don't.
Tuma. I think it's
Tuma.
Yeah, I think
Basil
so.
Tuma. I think he played. He played in the League Cup, possibly, and I'm not going to make any jokes about him being a sweeper, being Basil Brush the sweeper. That would be really unfair on him, so I'm not going to say that. So anyway, if you said Malta, you can have a point for that.
The last guy that played for Malta wasn't bad, was he?
No, there wasn't. We've had a Maltese question in both quizzes, so Maltese related anyway. So if you got any 3 of those, have a point for each, maximum of 3 points. So Scotland, Johnny.
Tom Mack.
And there's one other. Michael Craig.
Shane Long, Republic of Ireland.
So for Republic of Ireland, there's 3.
Yeah.
Shane Long being 1. Who are the other 2?
Jeff
So this is
Hendrick.
not for a point. This is just for knowledge.
Jeff Hendrick.
Yeah, Shane Long, Jeff Hendrick, and
Kean Levy.
Oh, Johnny, that's good. But unfortunately, you don't get any points for that.
I know, I don't.
You got
play last night. Yeah, Friday night when it was.
You got maximum points. Yeah, you got maximum points for that question. 3. So the maximum points for question 24 is 3. Final question, 25. Maximum 15 points, 1 point for each correct answer. Reading have had 15 goal scorers this season in all competitions. How many of the 15 can you name?
All right, I'll go for it here, Mark. Bear with me. So Yaki Mate, Andy Carroll, Tom.
Hold on. Right, I'm just I'm tallying up your score. You see, so right. I'll put your score there. Right. So okay, first one.
Yaki Mate.
Yep, correct.
Andy Carroll.
Correct.
Tom McIntyre.
Correct.
Mamadou Loum.
Correct.
Tyrese Forner.
Correct.
Shane Long.
Correct.
Lucas Jow.
Correct.
Amadou Mbengi.
Correct. Don't forget our greatest player, according to Paul Ince.
Oh, he's coming next.
Okay, so Amadou Mbenge, and who was the next one?
Thomas Ince. Tom Ince. Do I get 2 for 1 for Thomas Ince, one for Tom Ince? Sarr.
By the way, Tom Ince is correct, in case you wondered. Naby Sarr is correct.
Yeah. Briefer scored in the FA Cup. I don't know if that counts.
Correct.
Jeff Hendrick.
Yeah, we saw that goal, didn't we, as equaliser against Watford. We were at that game, watching that. Me sitting in front of
your Italian friend, Casali. Yeah,
1 point.
The Italian fella.
1 point for that.
Junior Hoylett and Andy Yiadom.
Junior Hoylett is correct. You've done the same as you did on the last one.
Of course I do, mate. Always Andy Yiadom hasn't scored for us.
There was a bit of a clue that even if you don't pronounce it correctly, you get a point. Kelvin is his first name.
Oh, Kelvin.
Go.
Both the plays up front. El Hibitivian. Yeah, I don't even insult him.
I'll give you that. So I don't think Andy Yeardom scored. Again, according to my research, I don't think Andy Yeardom scored. If you said Andy Yeardom and he did score, have another point for that. So let me add up your score, Johnny. According to this, what do you reckon you got?
Out of what?
Out of 50.
I'd say I'd be happy with 35. Again.
So what did you get last time?
38, wasn't it?
38, didn't you? You've beaten your last score, Johnny. You've become the first person in 1871 podcast quiz history to break the 40-point barrier. You got 41 out of 50.
That's actually quite good for me. I'm quite impressed with myself.
You seem sort of slightly amazed by that.
That's a gobsmack, mate, because I haven't got a clue.
Yeah. So you
and I'm actually more annoyed because I'm going, oh, geez, I should know those ones. I should know that one.
Well, up until the last question, you had 26 points and then you got 15. So if my maths is correct, 26 plus 15 works out to 41. I'll play this back to double check. But
I take
as things stand, subject to confirmation, Johnny has become the first quizzer in 1871 podcast history to break the 40-point barrier. So congratulations, Johnny. So that means out of 100, you got 79. So
thanks,
Johnny Hunt. And look, I don't care, just to embarrass me, do a quiz for me next time.
No, it's all right. That's all good fun, mate.
I'm not gonna beat you.
Actually, it's actually some things are very, like, the top scorer stuff. That was really hard because you forget. Like Lucas Jow, I actually forget he scored that many goals because it's not been a great few seasons. You go, oh, when we're playing well, Trevor Senior scored lots of goals, Kerry Dixon scored lots of goals, Adam Lafondra scored lots of goals, and then you forget the average seasons. But I'll take that. I'm happy. I'm happy.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed, Johnny. You looked a bit uncertain. Certainly, you looked like a man who wasn't going to beat your last score, I would say. But
it's focus, mate. It's focus. This is what Paul
Ince
needs. Look, you need Paul Ince on this, Quince.
Well, listen.
Ince on this. Ince, you need to focus on this, son, and you can take it onto the pitch.
Yeah, and he needs to kind of be aware of this because you've done, Johnny, what Reading need to do. You've beaten your last score. You've finished with 41 points. Even though you doubted yourself,
I stuck in, Mark. I stuck in.
Last score, you put the effort in. You missed a few sitters.
Yeah, all right. Okay, thanks. Mark, could you just?
No, you did better than I. You did better than I would. So, congratulations. Anyway, let us know your score if you're watching on YouTube. Write your score in the comments down here, and if you haven't subscribed, feel free to subscribe. So, if you are watching on YouTube, you write your comments below. Tell us how many points you got. And if you are just listening to this, not watching it on YouTube, you can go to YouTube. You can subscribe if you haven't already and you want to, and write the comments in the comment box below this episode, or contact us via 1871 podcast on Twitter or Instagram. So well done, Johnny. I think 41 out of 50. You're in with a shout of doing the title. I think this time.
No. I'll be happy.
You finished second last time. You beat your score, so you've beaten the winner's score from last time. So it's going to take a good.
You're going to keep up in the ante, Mark. You're going to come up with other questions in the next one where I'll be like completely clear. Name the goal scorers from every season in 1972 to 1975. And I'll be like,
you did really well. I think
it's all good fun, mate. It's all good fun.
I imagine a few people at least will have got the Jimmy Quinn question right.
Absolutely. Isn't it show you how knowledge as fans what we remember we forget?
Yeah, and some things you remember them straight away, and then some things you won't be able to remember. You just get stuck, and they go, "Oh yeah, obviously."
Or you overthink it. You actually go, "Oh."
Yeah, but you guessed a lot of your guesses and even in the top scorers one with you mentioned Jimmy Quinn about 2 or 3 times, apart from when it was actually the correct answer. So, well, actually, you got 41 plus a bonus point, didn't you? Because you corrected one of my incorrect answers.
Oh no, I wasn't. And it's like we don't never fall out on this podcast, folks. We just I just went.
Okay, hold my hands up on that, and look, you can have a bonus point if you.
And Luke Southers, you know, on that side, sounds like he's leaving in the sun, which is a shame because he's a very decent keeper.
So I'll check that, but obviously my research.
If you want to dock me a point back to 40 mark, I'm okay with that.
No. You're not getting doctor point because you got the answer correct. If anything, you should have a bonus point. If
it's all fun, mate. It's already correct.
All right. Well, congratulations, Johnny, and send us your scores, because if no one sends any scores in, then Johnny's definitely won.
Yeah, so please send them in. We don't want me winning.
Be good to have some competition, and look, we may well be crowning Johnny the winner. And just goes to show we've got a Reading FC expert, which we have anyway. 41 out of 50, 79 out of 100, or whatever it was. Congratulations, Johnny. Well done.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, mate. I'll take that. I'm going to retire now. That's it. I'm done. Yeah. I've peaked.
We've got, just to let you know, we've got a few other episodes coming up, and that includes, we're doing a special episode where we'll be inviting fans on to talk about Reading. So what we'd like you to do is get in touch with us. Tell us what you want to talk about. What's your view about Reading? If there's a question you want to ask us, hopefully Dylan will be on that episode. So maybe you want to ask Dylan a question, or if you just want to give your view on the current situation at Reading or anything about Reading, just get in touch. Tell us what you want to say. And we're going to invite some Reading fans on that episode. And if no one contacts us, then it'll just be me and Johnny again, maybe Dylan. But anyway, we've got an episode coming up where we are inviting fans to come on. But I know Johnny's got to get off now, so I'm going to say congratulations, well done, and goodbye to Johnny.
Cheers, Mark. Pleasure as always.
Thank you, Johnny.